welcome. My name is Carmen, and I am a myofunctional educator. I also am a myofunctional therapist. I have a global online practice, so I see people all over the world just like this online. So in today's Myo Minute, I am going to be talking about healing, recovery, and expectations. This is a question that I get asked a lot, or I get emails when people are in a panic when their doctor didn't give them directions, or maybe they just didn't listen, but regardless, they're concerned. And so this is a very, very important time because as I tell my clients, if you're going to screw something up, do not screw up your healing and recovery. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today in this Myo Minute. All right, so first I'm going to talk about the wound and the size of the wound. It's really important to remember that we don't judge the success of a frenectomy by the size of the wound. Now I say that, I do hate to say that because I have had many clients who send me a picture and their wound really looks like a bad canker sore. And I know deep down that they did not get an adequate release. So that's no secret. Of course, talking with them about it requires a little bit more compassion and understanding, but it's not something that we generally judge the success on based on the shape of the wound so much as the size. And again, I use that cautiously. I have some clients that have a gaping hole, and my friend, that really is okay. When my granddaughter had hers done, I'm pretty certain that she could have lost a marble in there, and that's okay. That tissue, as it is released, it starts to create this diamond, and that's just the nature of how that tissue is. What we want is this nice, large diamond to show that there was adequate release. But remember, I tell you guys this over and over all the time, I'm stressing it's about function, not so much the wound or the frenectomy. So I just wanted to really start this out by talking about we don't judge the success by the size of the wound. Next, I'm going to talk about healing by primary intention versus healing by secondary intention. This is really something that's hard for my clients to understand because I tell them this is probably going to be the only wound of your life that you are going to disrupt it. Let's face it, if you had a scab and you were picking at it all the time when you had a sore, your mom would have been smacking your hand. And now here we have this wound and we're telling you, oh my gosh, you got to get in there. So the difference between primary intention or secondary intention is pretty easy to explain. So if you had surgery and the doctor was going to sew you back up and put stitches in you, they're going to bring the sides of that wound together. And the goal is that maybe you have a really small scar and they want it to heal nice and straight and in that straight line. So that's healing by primary intention. Now, healing by secondary intention is what we want when you have a frenectomy. So you have that diamond-shaped wound, and we want you to disrupt that wound so that it heals slowly from the outside in. So we want that diamond shape to get smaller and smaller from the outside in, and we want what's called granulation tissue to kind of fill in the middle. So a colleague in the field coined the phrase, we want to close the curtains, but not the window. And so that really is a great explanation that we want it to heal from the outside in, but not down like this. The mouth has a ton of vascularization and it's going to heal that hole in the floor of your mouth. So you're going to kind of be working against nature in keeping that wound open. So that is, in a nutshell, what the explanation is between primary intention and secondary intention. All right, and one of my biggest pain points and huge source of frustration is the doctor, the person that does the frenectomy, should give wound instructions. We call this active wound management. Unfortunately, it happens a lot of the time, and doctors overlook it, and then I'm left saying, well, this really isn't my scope of practice. Now, I can give advice because I have witnessed and I know and understand what my clients go through, but it's the doctor's wound. And really, the reason I have a problem with this is because if it doesn't heal right, I want it to be the doctor's problem, not mine. So I'm very reluctant to give information in this area. Now, with that said, my clients are very, very well versed in asking about active wound management. Ideally, if you find the right person, that I talk about ad nauseum, it seems, if you find the right person and they understand myofunctional therapy and myofunctional impairment and all of that stuff, they get the importance of active wound management. The important thing is each doctor is going to have a different technique. Maybe they have a different type of laser. So their post-op instructions are going to vary. I have some providers that want you to do stretches, every 4 hours around the clock, and I have some providers that want them every 8 hours. The important thing is you're probably going to do them around the clock, and you're probably going to do them for, 2 to 4 weeks at a minimum. But that's going to come from your doctor. So I always tell my clients, make sure you talk with your doctor about this. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about is wound contracture. So really, once you have your frenectomy done, you start healing the minute that the doctor releases that tissue. And so the goal of when you do myofunctional therapy is that you start rebuilding a nice, longer, leaner, limber structure. What happens though is sometimes we get wound contracture, and this can happen anywhere from a week to a month. It's typically happens when my clients wake up and they say, oh my gosh, I feel like it is so tight. You have to work through that. Some people, without reaching out to me, they'll run out and get another frenectomy, which isn't necessarily what we want, because when you compound that scar tissue and stuff, it can lead to a worse situation than what you had when you started. So I don't think you really want to jump the gun with that, but understanding that wound contracture certainly is common, and it is very, very normal for most of my clients. The important thing is that they continue working through doing their exercises and stuff that I have taught them, doing the stretches that the doctor has taught, and generally then we can recover from that without any problem. So that is wound contracture. That's why it happens, and it's very, very normal. Okay, so how do you get started? I share this with you all the time. You gotta find somebody to work with. So find your myofunctional educator extraordinaire. It does not have to be me. It does not have to be somebody who works online. If you're lucky enough to find somebody in your town or in your, relatively close to you, perfect. What's important is that it's a good match. So it needs to be a friendly, fun, companionship, because if not, you're going to dread seeing that person and they're going to dread seeing you. So it has to be a good match. So find your person. In my weekly Facebook Live today, I am going to be diving deeper into what I know about healing and recovery. So I'm going to be sharing some of the techniques that I know and really the information that I give people when I get those panicked emails in the middle of the night. So you can watch me today over at on my Facebook page at The Tongue Trainer, and I'll be there at 11:30 Mountain Standard Time today. Don't forget, if you have questions about whether you even have a tongue tie, whether you have concerns, at the bottom of any one of my blogs, you can sign up to get my assessment tool. This assessment tool is what many of my partners use to screen people, just to start the conversation. You can't really take somebody from having no idea that any of these concerns exist to getting them to, buy in and understand that. So this screening tool is very, very popular. It's very useful, and it's a lot of the same questions that I dig deeper when I'm doing a comprehensive exam. So start there. Find out what you have going on. I love it when I meet people and they say, you know what, Carmen, I had 14 yeses. I had, 17 yeses. That tells you that you've got something that's worth having a conversation with a myofunctional therapist. So that's it for your Myo Minute. I will see you in the next one. And if you want, I'll see you over in the Facebook Live. Bye for now.